Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to another episode of Jash Reads. Tonight we're continuing reading Animorphs number 10, The Android by K.A. Applegate. And as always, this video is not intended for kids. This is instead intended for adults discovering or rediscovering Animorphs. And my loyal viewers might be wondering why I'm not using my iconic jacket and instead this little blanket quilt thingy-majig. Because I'm still drying my clothing from earlier because I went out to get a breathing test done. And so, washing the clothes once I got home and then, taking a little shower. So the dryer has stopped, but I don't. If I mess with stuff in the dryer, I want to take everything out, so I didn't want to take up so much time. Like, it stopped right before I started recording, so I was like, well, that's not good. So yeah, next video, don't worry, there will be the iconic jacket. Like, I don't think any of you really care, but there you go. And let's begin. I saw Jake the following day in the school cafeteria. I was wolfing down the goo of the day, drinking milk, and trying to write my English paper at warp speed. See, I kind of had some homework due, too. But I'd spent yesterday evening cruising around in Animorph looking for Erek's house. English paper? Jake asked as he sat down across from me. Yeah. He laughed. You're good for me, Marco. Compared to you, I'm so responsible. You have a topic? I looked up at him and thumped my finger down on the paper. I've already written 3 pages. What do you mean, do I have a topic? But Jake knows me. So, he said, do you have a topic? A topic will emerge. I'm going to just write until I discover a topic. The topic will rise from these pages. It will reveal itself to me. I just have to keep writing. He nodded and made a face at the goo of the day on his tray. This food is blue. Food should not be blue. Hey, here's a topic for you. They use the total bowl in the writing of English papers. I grinned. I am the master of bull. 3 pages so far, and I haven't actually said a single thing. So, did you guys happen to find our friend? I shot a glance left and then right. No one was seeing near enough to overhear us. Besides, the cafeteria was so noisy from yelling and laughing and clashing dishes and scraping chairs that no one could hear much of anything. Yeah, we found out where he lives. Saw him through a window. Too bad, though. One of the other king residences we checked out had this girl living there who was amazing. You weren't window peeping, I hope. I gave Jake my best shocked and outraged look. How could you even say that? What kind of person do you think I am? Jake nodded. Cassie wouldn't let you, huh? I am trying to write a paper here, I said, on the topic of how to write 1,000 words and say nothing. Zero. Nada. Squat. Jake lowered his voice to just above a whisper. We need to check Erek out. Definitely something wrong there. I put down my pencil. You mean get inside his house? Jake shrugged. Not yet. Get Tobias to watch him when he's outside, but Tobias will need some help. I shrugged and went back to my paper. I'll help. I'll have plenty of time. I'm dropping out of school this afternoon, right after the teacher gets done laughing at this paper. Topic: the use of rhetoric to obscure a lack of content. Jake said. I froze. I looked up. That's brilliant! It means the same as the use of tobull, but it sounds so much better! Eat your goo. I gotta go. He left, and I saw him head over to the spot where Cassie was sitting. It's one of our rules. We can never start looking like a group. In school or in public places, we keep our distance. We only reveal the relationships that already existed before we became Animorphs. I happened to see Chapman coming in through the door of the cafeteria. He grabbed some kid who was running and told him to slow down. Then he gazed around the room, looking for troublemakers, like any normal vice principal would. But Chapman isn't normal. Chapman is a controller. The Erek in his head is high-ranking enough to speak directly with Fisher 3. For about a second, Chapman's eyes locked on mine. It was nothing, but it sent a shiver up my spine. Chapman runs the sharing. The flyers that Erek had been handing out at the concert had been about the sharing. Erek had never been some major friend of mine. He was just this kid I'd said hi to in the hallway. Except that he had been there for my mother's funeral. A funeral without a body. Some other kids from school had come, so I didn't think anything much about it. Still, it was a nice thing for him to do. And now he was working for the sharing. The sharing is a front organization for controllers. On the surface, it's a sort of club. Kids join it and go on campouts and field trips and stuff. Adults join it and supposedly do business deals together and take weekends at ski resorts. And probably most members of the sharing never even know what's really going on. But the controllers who run the sharing are always on the lookout for some person with problems. See, the Ereks don't just spread by forcing themselves on people. A lot of people become controllers by choice. I guess they want to feel like they're part of something bigger. Or maybe it's the secrecy they think is cool. I don't know. All I know is that the Ereks would rather have a voluntary host. They'd rather have you surrender your mind than have to take it by force. They work you up slowly through the levels of the sharing, till they decide you're ready. Then they make promises and tell you lies, and the next thing you know, you're a slave inside your own mind. all the more easily controlled because you let it happen. I shoved the tray away from me and picked up my pencil again. I stared down at the paper, but I was seeing a funeral service. Singing, flowers, some priest talking about how great my mother had been. He hadn't even known my mother. I remember turning around in my pew to look at the church. A lot of people had come, a lot of sad faces, a lot of tears. Most people just looking solemn because that's the way you have to look at a funeral. Erek had been 3 rows back. He was wearing a suit that was probably scratchy and uncomfortable, but he didn't look solemn. He looked angry. And he was shaking his head slowly, barely, from side to side, as if he was unconsciously disagreeing with everything the priest said. At the time, I figured he was mad because he had to dress up. I understood that. And now Erek had reappeared. The boy who didn't smell human. The boy who worked for the sharing. Well, Erek, I muttered under my breath, we'll have to see about you. We will definitely have to see. And that's that lovely chapter. And there was something I noticed when I was practicing and when I read it, and now I can't think of what it was. It's like some sort of mistake. For a second, flyers, let's see, kid. You're. You left. Oh, yeah, groups. So, Marco and Jake have been best friends. Like they're sort of they they understand each other, they get each other, they annoy each other, best friend stuff. And so when they're talking about, oh, there's relationship, we have to keep the relationships that we had before and not, start to make people suspect that we're forming new relationships that, we're not a group. And it's like, but you and Jake have been best friends for so long. That's sort of the web of how everyone knows each other. It's like, it's like, and I believe before the first book in the series, Jake had only seen Cassie, on the bus. So it's like, if you're only trying to keep the relationships you had beforehand, why is he going off with Cassie? But maybe that's because Jake had a crush on Cassie, and so then I guess that was sort of kind of a relationship, just forming a little bit deeper, and people like, oh, probably go, oh, look at he was so totally crushing on this girl, and now he's dating this girl. So that, and I think Marco knows, but doesn't want to say because, mushy love stuff, that Jake isn't, trying to keep up appearances by leaving Marco and going to Cassie. It's all about, Jake wants to spend time with his crush. And yeah. So it's probably not thinking he's like, oh yeah, he's just keeping up appearance. He's totally not crushing. Instead going to hang out with his crush. If that's not the case, then yeah, it's a KASU. Basically, fuck up on Kay Applegate's part. I think Catherine Applegate Screw Up. Yeah, I think that's what KASU stands for. So yeah. Yeah. But yeah, and if you're wondering if, Jake and Cassie get together, but it's really something how they come together. I'm not going to say anything more because them getting together, I think you can basically get that they're basically really crushing on each other, and so they're going to get together at some point. But yeah, how they get together it's going to be something. Once we get to that part in the series, everyone who ships Jake Cassie will be losing their shit. It is awesome. It's like the book that happens in. That's basically, yes. I'm not going to say anymore because I can't, because I'll just babble nonsense or else risk saying a major spoiler. Major spoiler to me would be how they actually get together and why. Them getting together is like minor. I think everyone sort of guesses that at that point. It's like going to Twilight and reading the first book and having it spoiled that, Bella ends up marrying Edward isn't really a spoiler because you sort of get that's where it's going. Okay, so for the questions. The first question. Yes, this is a quiz now. No, not a quiz. The question for this video is, if you remember back to your, high school, college days about writing a paper, what paper do you remember bullshitting on the most? If you can remember that all, if you did bullshit on a paper, I can't bullshit. I can write bad papers, but I just can't bullshit. So comment down below with any of those stories you have from your youth. Unless, you're currently in college, like your mid-20s, whatever, all ages can go to college, so no, it could be very recently for you. And also, comment below with anything you noticed about this chapter. The good, the bad, the ugly. Remember, no major spoilers. For example, you can no major spoilers because I'm hoping that people get into the series via these videos, so there are some huge twists and turns you don't want to miss out on. An example of the major spoiler, a minor spoiler, like the Cassie and Jake get together. It's very minor, but the major spoiler would be the circumstances around them getting together. It is just awesome. I just can't. Jake and Cassie are my biggest ship of the series. I also, like, the runner-up would have to be Tobias Rachel. So it's like, when, Jake and Cassie get together, my little shipper, I was like, oh my god, yes, finally! Because everyone in the fucking group knows that those two have a thing for each other, but they don't admit it. So it's like, So anyways, yeah, once that part comes up in the series, trust me, I'm going to be fangirling like crazy. So just a warning, just a little slight heads up when that, yeah. So anyways, also remember to like this video because liking this video helps affect the YouTube algorithm of making it more likely for people to actually see my lovely face. And also remember to subscribe. I am going to be reading not only the entirety of Animorphs number 10, but the entirety of the Animorphs series. Also, if you do want to listen to someone doing a reading of Animorphs that's actually talented, right now there's the first 10 books in the series, Animorphs 1 through 10, not including, Megamorphs 1, are out on audiobooks. So, check them out and, support the series that way so that maybe Classic will really take notice that Animorphs still has a following. And might, I'm not saying it will or won't, but it might lead to an actual good adaptation of the books. Might be. I don't know. I can't promise that for certain, but if Scholastic sees money, yeah. And also, if you are my Bloggy blog and on the desktop version of my Bloggy blog, please choose the follow by email so you will never again miss out on any of my content, including a long post that will be released, I believe, May 23rd on the topic of Game of Thrones. So, you don't want to miss that coming out. So, just do that email, subscribe by email so you won't miss out on it or any of the other awesome content I have. And I really hope you all are staying safe, you're staying sane, and if you are feeling just exhausted about the situation, you have every single right to. Just don't do something stupid like go out without a mask. So, bye. Okay, in stream.